From the most trusted names in local news, KDPG Sunday Edition.
Good morning and welcome to the KDPG Sunday Edition. I'm Ken Rice. The foundation of every state is the education of its youth. A quote from the Greek philosopher Diogenes. It's also a quote that can be seen on the outside of Pittsburgh Alderdice High School in Squirrel Hill. In the 21st century, how well prepared our young population is for the modern workforce could play a critical role in this area's competitiveness and our ability to attract companies like Amazon to our community. But a report released this month by Pittsburgh's Community Alliance for Public Education, A+ Schools, finds a chronic and troubling achievement gap between some schools where academic progress is strong and other schools where students just don't do as well. More white students qualified for the Pittsburgh Promise Scholarship than African American students, to cite just one example, and there are other disparities. And that's our topic this morning on the KDPG Sunday Edition. In a bit, we're going to hear from newly elected school board member Salah Uddin, former Pittsburgh City Councilman and co-chair of the Hill District Education Council. But right now, we welcome James Fogarty, Executive Director of A+ Schools, and Molly O'Malley Argueta, Principal at Pittsburgh Allegheny Traditional Academy, K-5 on Pittsburgh's North Side. John Allison is with us because David Sherman is away this week. John, always a pleasure to have you, and thanks for both of you for being here.
Thank you.
So this report that you've just come out with, surprises in it, most concerning things?
I mean, I think for us, the couple positive surprises, right? We saw an 8-point increase in the number of third graders reading at grade level, so that's up from last year of 47% to 55% this year. That means, though, that 753 third graders in Pittsburgh weren't reading at grade level. And why do we key in on third grade? Well, it's when we say we have to learn to read, because after third grade, you're reading to learn. And so getting that content skill and those skills and fluency, literacy, all those skills done by third grade is really important. Not to mean we can't catch them up, not to mean we can't make interventions, but we key in on it because we know it ties to so many other later achievement factors. So that's positive. The other positive, we see a decline in overall suspension rate. We saw a 25% decline in kids being suspended in schools in Pittsburgh Public Schools in the past year due to a lot of different efforts and initiatives that are in the district. And so those are two kind of big positives, and then small increases in graduation. Big increase over 2015, right? Our data on graduation lags a year, so 2016 graduation rate is 80%. It was 70% in 2015, so a 10-point increase in 1 year, which is really good.
Let me just to what do you attribute that?
I think a variety of things, right? If you look at the district's emphasis on making sure kids were promised, so through the We Promise initiative that they have, they've got, I think there's also credit recovery, right? There's a lot of folks saying, okay, if you didn't meet your credits and you're not quite ready, there was a lot of emphasis in the last year on getting kids those final credits so they could actually graduate. And I know that was happening at schools across the district.
So that's working, 10% in 1 year. That's pretty impressive.
That's impressive.
What about ongoing stubborn frustrations?
I mean, we see consistent gaps in student achievement of 30 to 40, between 30 and 40 points between black student achievement and white student achievement across different grade levels. And if you look at, math in 6th to 8th grades, math student proficiency for African American students is 9%. So that means 91% of our black students in grades 6 to 8th are not at grade level on math. It's not that different from the state. State level is 11% for African American students in that grade. And overall, I think one of the things that you were talking about, sort of Amazon and STEM achievement, it's got to be something. We've keyed in on literacy and we've started to see some improvements. We've got to key in on math, attainment and understanding, because we know that 67% of our 3rd to 5th graders and 78% of our 6th to 8th graders are not achieving at grade level on math.
Really high numbers.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll come back to that, but let's return to reading ability at 3rd grade,
yes.
which you said is so crucial. So at your school, Allegheny K-5, you've had big improvements in 1 year. So 72% of black students are reading at grade level, 3rd graders. 90% of white students, 91% multiracial students, 74% low income. Those are impressive numbers.
Thank you.
Now, to compare, as the Post-Gazette did this past week, John, at Langley K-8 in Sheridan, only 17% of black students are reading at grade level, only 36% of white students. Your magnet school, how are you different than Langley?
So our students, full magnet students, they have to fill out an application to apply to the school and be accepted through a lottery process. A home school, which is what Langley would be considered, students are registered and they attend.
Okay, so that's a difference in how you get there. But what's happening at your school that's different than what's happening at Langley? Or has what's happening already been baked in the cake by the time students get to your school and to Langley?
So I'll speak to Allegheny because that's what I can make reference to. And I think really when we're looking at achievement and student achievement, we have to take into consideration teachers. And I'm the principal of the school, I'm the leader of the school, but teachers are with the students 100% of the time, 95% of the time. And so as a resource, I consider myself a resource and a support to teachers. I want teachers to be experts in their craft, and I want them to have high expectations for all students. And so I had a year of amazing growth, but that was 3 years working into. So to just say we showed up, the third graders came and did 72% in one day, because they were in third grade with no back or foundational support is just not fair.
Okay, so is that all it is? It's better teaching?
So no, that's not all it is. I mean, but it's important. I would say it's one of the most important things that that students need.
But because you're a magnet school, does that mean students who are showing up on day one in kindergarten are more
equipped? Like
their parents want them to be there for some reason?
So their parents definitely filled out an application. Absolutely. So there
they chose your school over their neighborhood school.
Correct. But we get a range of students. So we have students entering kindergarten that know all of their letters. We have students that come in kindergarten that have no idea what a letter is and can maybe write their name. So we have a range. And so to say that all students that enter Allegheny K-5 are at a kindergarten level or kindergarten ready, I would say that is not the case.
John, I'll let you jump in here. Let me just follow up once more on this. So that's a similar situation at any school. Some
Correct.
Kids show up with certain skills, some kids are lacking those
Absolutely.
skills. So then is it what's happening once they enter your school that is making the difference in these third grade level scores?
Absolutely. There's the culture, the academic expectation.
If it can happen at your school, at a magnet school, it should be able to happen at any school.
All over the country, absolutely.
And we know that unexpected results can happen with every school. I mean, like Allegheny is just one of multiple examples. Greenfield is a full neighborhood school, but getting similar results to Allegheny Traditional. They're getting kids from the Greenfield neighborhood. They're also getting some kids from Hazelwood, and they're able to achieve at high levels. What I would say the key is the leader in the building. Right? We know that principal leadership matters. It's what drives that team of teachers to do well, and it's what the focus is on that building. So when you have a leader who's focused on instruction and on the teaching and learning that's going on in the school, we see achievement happening at high levels. And that's to say, that to me militates towards, we need policies that really focus on improving principal leadership in this district to recognize those that are doing well, and to also have them learn from each other. I don't think any leader is fully equipped to handle the challenges of a building when they first walk in. It is a almost nearly impossible job to manage not only the teaching staff, but all the relationships in the community that you need to manage. But Ms. O'Malley Argueta does that well. I mean, if you go to her PSCC or PTA meetings, she has almost 100 people at those meetings every month, right? That's very different. That kind of engagement with her community is very different than what we're seeing in other schools, right? And so there's some secret sauce there that I think she can teach to other principals, but it also requires us supporting her in her efforts and others like her.
Focus on test scores, of course it's important. It's a metric that we all have to pay attention to. Just want to back up from that a little bit, because not everybody tests well. And I know, say in SATs, there's cultural factors, cultural bias, but when we're talking about third grade reading, does that enter into your thinking, like, is this really an accurate way to judge someone's totality? Are the tests pretty cut and dry, or?
So I hate to put anyone in a box, right? And to say that because I was basic or below basic on one third grade test, that I'm not going to achieve at high levels throughout my educational career. So No, I would not say one test defines who a person is. I think that would be very short-sighted. What I think is a difference at Allegheny is we focus on the habits of learning, right? So we want students, because our belief is that it doesn't matter what challenge is put in front of you, if you have the necessary skills and the stamina and the perseverance to push through, you can accomplish anything that you want to. It doesn't matter. And so it wouldn't matter if it's a passage, a 15-page passage, right, or an essay that you have to turn in, or a math problem. You've been given the habits of learning and the skills to tackle any problem.
So you'd like to emphasize that the test scores are one thing, but we shouldn't focus on that. A lot of it's like, see, my school is good. It's got the test scores.
Well,
There's more to it.
I mean, we know that families make decisions about schools based on a variety of factors beyond test scores, right? If you look at PDK does an annual poll on attitudes.
What's PDK?
Phi Delta Kappa, they do an annual poll, national poll of parents around attitudes towards public education. Their most recent poll, only 6% of parents found that academic data was the most important factor when they were looking at a school. School safety and whether the school taught social emotional learning came in much higher, like 24%, and whether the school had access to technology and other kind of opportunities came in much higher for parents. We recognize that. We never say, and we say this kind of clearly in our book, hey, if you want to understand a school, go visit, right? And the only reason I know more about Allegheny Traditional or other schools is because I've gone in and visited and seen what's going on. I've talked to the parents in those buildings. That being said, we have state standards for a reason. We are saying to our community, look, we think you need to be at about this place by about this time. Now, could we talk about changing the way we do that? Should we go to competency-based instruction and explore deeper learning? I think those are good questions that we should be having at the policy level. But for now, the best measures that we have are these tests. They're imperfect, they're made by humans, taken by humans, but they do give us a sense of how well students are learning in the building, and for that reason, we will continue to report on them and to report out the differences in how people are achieving on them so that we can then drive in on how do we fix that. And I think we have examples in Pittsburgh, and that's what I'm excited about, is that there are examples of students learning at high levels in some of our buildings. It's not enough. It's too many kids aren't, but we should be looking at those good examples.
Just about a minute to go in this segment. A school not far from yours, King, has had some incidents of violence that have been all over the news lately. If a student can't feel safe at school, safe in their community, how can they learn, right? So how is it different at your school, and do you think it's possible for this district to really make leaps and bounds if safety isn't an absolute given?
So I think safety is utmost importance, right? Kids have to feel safe, and I think the district has put in place some different measures to make sure and ensure that all students are safe. Right now, we're having PBIS training, which is a positive behavior support plan. That is being implemented in all schools, and there's extensive training throughout the district. And I think that's one measure to ensure that everyone is safe. Commander Chief Brown, excuse me, he is also a part of the training and making sure that all buildings are safe and secure.
All right, obviously a priority now and always. All right, we need to take a break. When we come back, we'll be joined by a familiar Pittsburgher who has a new job. He'll be joining the Pittsburgh Public Schools Board. Salah Uddin joins us in just a moment.